So first and foremost,
I think the addition of pant leggings is really when you start to see your heroes get watered down.
can't even muster the ability to play straight pants that one.
Which is a good argument for absolute rulers.
Everybody is going to get behind me. They're all going to love me, and my support numbers will go through the roof.
When you hang out with the hero, it doesn't go well for you. My grandfather took the cob and just slid it right through the bar.
Oh, God. Okay.
And that became the dominant way our family did it.
Okay.
And so, in both of my marriages, they were treated to that.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah, rage haiku.
How do you imagine the rubber chicken point?
My grandmother actually vacuumed in her pearls. Oh my God, it all makes sense. We'd had the sexual revolution.
It might have just been a Canadian standoff. We're going to go back to 9/11.
Dude, get over it. Nobody understands what the Bill of Rights is supposed to be.
Agra has no business being that thick.
When the cultists win, we all lose.
This is a Geek History of Time.
Where we connect nerdery to the real world. My name is Ed Blaylock. I'm a world history teacher here in Northern California, currently doing my job over the internet as capably as I know how. And who are you?
Well, I'm Damian Harmony. I'm a Latin teacher up here in Northern California, and I have been sandbagging since March 13th of last year, baby. Nobody can tell what those kids have learned, ever.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't want to admit it, but now that you have, I feel like my sense of honor requires that I actually say, yeah, me too.
Yeah, no, I've been absolutely just like not doing my job at all, ever. Picking grades at random, just giving away grades, making sure that students lose as much learning as possible. I've actually taught them wrong math using my Latin class as a platform for that.
Good one.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm trying to do my best to teach them about devil worship and
to tie into our last episode. There,
that's right.
From the get-go. Yeah, nicely done. Yeah, no, in my case, I've just started drinking at like 10 a.m. daily.
You should do it in front of them. I find that that's good modeling.
You know, who says I haven't?
Good point. So,
and of course, for those of you who are new to the show, this is our patented sarcasm in action right there.
As dry as Ed's martini at 10 in the morning.
Well, I don't get the vodka out until at least 11.
Okay. Well, it's as bitter as the vermouth that we whisper over it.
There we go. And you need to just whisper.
Yeah.
Too much vermouth.
I do miss MASH for that. Like they used to have such great things of like, give me the driest martini. I just want you to whisper the word vermouth over the gin. My favorite part though was
some of that dialogue was great.
Oh, it's so good. My favorite part though was all the different times that Potter would just like, horse hockey, meadow muffins, beaver biscuits, shit like that. It's just so fun. So
it's amazing. So we're continuing our dive into the development of Dungeons and Dragons, and along the way, we're going to talk about what turned into the Edition Wars.
I move here that we do not call this a dive, but in fact a delve.
Seconded.
All right.
And the motion carries.
There you go. However, the motion is not encumbered because the motion has a good carrying capacity. So
this is true. Yes, it has a high strength score.
Yes.
Yes. And I have to say this, and it's totally unrelated to what we're talking about, but of course, as you can now tell, we are of course both teachers, and right now we're both stressed out about what's going to happen with when and how we're going to have to go back to work in person. My board last night, before deciding that we were going to go back basically as soon as our county goes into the red tier, before that, they had a 6-minute back and forth over whether a member of the board could introduce a second motion while the first motion was being debated, or whether the second motion counted as a friendly amendment.
Couldn't they just ask the person suggesting it if it was a friendly amendment?
He wasn't sure which applied.
I could see taking a recess till you could figure that out.
Yeah, well, in any event, it would have been comedic if it weren't for the fact that watching it the whole time I was gritting my teeth going, fucking vote. Just get to the fucking vote. So anyway, sorry.
That's fine. I just realized we added a fourth board to the list of boards I need to go yell at. I've started using the phrase, do I need to put my yelling shoes on? And I don't know why, because I don't need shoes to yell.
Yeah, but if you've got good lumbar support, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So anyway, we left off last time talking about what dominant mass culture.
Hang on 1 second. Okay. Your board had a guy not sure if he could give a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get that. Our board had a guy suggest a motion, ask for a second, and then they talked right past him as though he wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah. So first off, apologies to my neighbors for how loud I was yelling about that. And not even because I cared about one way or the, well, actually, I did agree with his motion, but more importantly, he's the only black male member of our board.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Of course I'm not kidding.
Jesus
Because
God.
the president who left my board, and may her bones be crushed, she
may her blade chip and shatter.
Yes. May she see herself for who she is. But I know that was mean. But she left, and the Wish version of her is now in charge. So really, we lost Karen, but we kept Joyce. It's yeah. But she talked right past the dude, and I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I was mad. So there you go.
All right, man.
So,
yeah.
Take 47. Go ahead.
Not to worry.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, or I was talking about, and you were elucidating and insisting on making Pimpin' Ain't Easy puns. About satanic panic and fear of the occult and this whole lunatic mass hysteria that happened in the late 70s into the 80s. That led to parent groups being formed that were worried about Dungeons and Dragons. There was some police detective from I don't remember where, flyover state, who wound up making kind of a second career out of, publishing a pamphlet about the dangers of Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games. And of course it was full of bullshit. I remember reading a couple of pages of it as a 15-year-old because it had been out for a number of years by that time. And looking at it going, he's never read one of the rule books.
So you're kind of rules lawyering a con man.
Yeah, but it's really clear he's never actually witnessed a gaming session. He's never read any of the source books. There's just so much of this that is fabricated nonsense. And so we had that going on, and that lingered as a stigma around the hobby for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think depending on what part of the country you were in probably affected how bad it was. Where I was, it was definitely there. You definitely heard people make remarks occasionally, but it wasn't you didn't actually have people try to show up to save your soul because they heard you were playing the game. It wasn't that bad, but it was definitely there. I'm sure in parts of the Bible Belt it was a lot worse.
Actually, up in Alaska, apparently it was so bad that it interfered with the folk music scene Yeah, it was weird because there were some people who like refused to believe it, and there were others who like were, I don't know, taken by that, and they were upset that people were trying to save their souls. So you had Jewel Denial singing.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. I twigged to that one literally a split instant before you dropped it. Yeah. Good day, sir.
Yeah, well, you know.
So you have this just crazy nut bar lunacy going on.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, and this is really where I left off, if you look at popular entertainment from the early 80s, I'm just gonna mention a few things here. So Excalibur gets made in 81.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
back when Patrick Stewart was bald. Oh, wait.
Yeah. back when Patrick Stewart was, early middle-aged.
Yeah.
But like I know I'm going to get somebody going, well, that's an Arthurian movie. No, it's a D&D movie.
It's sword and sorcery.
It's a sword and sorcery adaptation of the Arthurian legend. Like,
absolutely.
You can't you will not change my mind. Don't try. So that was 81.
Mm-hmm.
We've already talked about Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
82. Beastmaster. 82.
Dark.
Dark Crystal. 82.
Mm-hmm.
Krull. 83.
Oh God, that movie. They called the goddamn thing a glaive.
Yeah,
I'm not that big. I'm certainly not as big a sword nerd and snob like you.
Yes,
but you can't call a throwing star, which is the size of your head, a glaive. Like, there are so many things wrong with just that alone. Never mind the Dutch musket approach to energy weapons that the bad guys had.
I'm sorry. Dutch musket is a new one on me. Okay.
But okay, the Dutch army when they had the muskets that were basically clubs that could shoot once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the energy weapons that the bad guys use. Then dude has a glaive, but it's not a glaive. It is the size of a hubcap, and it like has little things that kind of come out. Right? It's not a glaive, and also what the shit is this?
Telekinetically controlled.
Right. And it's at the same time that they're like fetishizing the shit out of ninjas, but let's make it like the Magnum Colt 45 version of a ninja throwing star. Because it's a throwing star. But we'll call it a glaive, and then you'll only use it once to cut through a wall further away. That's all it was used for. Like, if I recall. And now, in fairness, it was awesome because it brought us Liam Neeson.
Yes.
And it had the creepiest looking Cyclops ever.
Some of the effects work in that movie was like remarkably good for what a kind of crummy overall film it was.
Yeah, like the set design was good. Like when they were going through the Swamp of Sadness where Artex died, I really liked.
Wait.
Sorry, did I spoil the movie for you? But like how people's eyes went completely black.
Soon.
That was some creepy shit. That was cool.
And
you had the bumbling wizard who I always wanted to make that character of like, you know, wild magic but scroll magic, And I loved the interplay between him and the Cyclops, who was super tall and his name was like one syllable. And then the other dude was like, had a name with blah blah blah, and it was just that, well, big people just need a little name. I really, there were things I liked about it, but you can't call a throwing star that for some reason you've decided to increase by 300% a glaive
and turn into a switchblade.
Yeah.
A switchblade throwing star
for doing
the size of a Citroen hubcap
for doing drywall work.
Admittedly, it's magical drywall, right? I mean,
Yeah,
come
true,
on,
true.
come on.
Good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. That there were a great many things
Yeah.
deeply wrong with that movie, but the aesthetic of it was
Oh, Sword and Sorcery, absolutely.
like amazing.
I showed my kids Beastmaster, by the way.
Oh, really?
I did, yeah.
All
They
right.
liked it. Julia immediately wanted to play a ranger.
Well,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, yeah, I got to Krull.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Neverending Story, where Artax actually does die, spoilers, was 84. Conan the Destroyer was 84.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lady Hawk in 85.
Mm-hmm.
And Labyrinth in 86.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even mentioning Willow, which was...
That's going to come a little later. 88? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which is, I think, honestly, the apex of those kinds of movies, because it completely created a world. Because, I mean, it's George Lucas. That's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, many elements of that world were cribbed like whole cloth from Star Wars.
Oh, fully.
But, still. So that's what was going on in cinema. That was like there was this explosion of sword and sorcery fantasy films.
And you only mentioned the good ones, really.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't get into. I didn't even get to Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah, or Lady Hawk.
Which I thought I.
Oh, you did. You
Hawk.
did. I'm sorry. Yeah, that you did say that.
And Lady Hawk had its flaws, but it also had an amazing 80s soundtrack.
Didn't it also have a sword that shot out at people? Or is that a different movie?
That's a different movie.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that was Lady Hawk.
And I would also point out that you mentioned the good ones, and the good ones included Krull.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit.
Did you mention Red Sonja? Because I think as a world, that shit was great. Even as a plot, honestly, my kids won't be listening to this anytime soon, but I've totally cribbed that plus the Jason Momoa Conan as the plot for their D&D game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that works.
But like, I mean, that movie was shtick and schlock and stuff like that, but it still furthered that world.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And what a lot of them had in common, like Krull, for example, had amazing world building.
Yep.
But like no plot.
Yeah.
Or there was one, but it was kind of feeble.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And so there's this weird schizophrenic kind of thing going on in the popular imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And the sword and sorcery stuff is very much like, as we talked about in our episodes talking about Conan the Barbarian and Robert E. Howard, the movie of Conan is emblematic of the hypermasculine ideals that are going on.
Yes.
And you see in nearly every one of the movies I just mentioned, Neverending Story maybe not, but like practically all the rest of them, there's a very strong, the hero is a dude, and there's this very, very traditional idea of, what his role is as the hero.
Yes.
Okay, Labyrinth. Sorry, Labyrinth is the other exception.
No, but by and large, that's an easier story to tell because wimping ain't easy.
That one hurt. That one truly hurt. So, but there's this again, the quote unquote traditional masculine ideal in several of these cases literally blown massively out of proportion.
Yes.
Look at you, Arnie. With this very kind of patriarchalist outlook on power structures and how everything works and all this. So it's fantasy, but it's fantasy with this very traditionalist kind of outlook.
And a toxic one at that. At a time where we didn't have the word for that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, again, it was the water we were swimming in, so we didn't even think that could be a thing. And so we're taking comfort in escapism that reinforces these traditional ideas, which, by the way, ties in really well to what you pointed out last episode about no-fault divorce and single moms being a thing in a big way. And so, there's this weird stew in the Zeitgeist going on that directly affected the development of Dungeons and Dragons because the development of the second edition of AD&D started in 1987.
Okay.
Now Gary Gygax had left TSR in 86 over major business disagreements with other members of the board. The company in 85 had wound up falling into a massive financial crisis. And the publication of Unearthed Arcana was his way of pulling the company out of that.
Okay.
Unearthed Arcana sold enough copies that they were able to make enough money off of it to pay off a lot of their bills. There was other stuff that happened, but Unearthed Arcana was a huge big deal there. And so he wound up buying back a majority share of shares of the company and did all this stuff, but then realized that his position just was not going to be sustainable, and so he essentially let himself be bought out and he left.
Okay.
And so that was in 86. Now, he had been planning on doing a second edition of AD&D previously, and his plan had been it's just going to be, again, a consolidation. We're going to take all the stuff that we've put out in these other supplements, in the Monster Manual 2 and all this other stuff. We're going to consolidate those into a new rule set that is going to be the Player's Handbook, DMG, Monster Manual. We're just going to tie it all together. What it wound up turning into was a huge revamp. And a big part of that revamp was to move away from the negative publicity that the game had garnered from, Jack Chick's, Dungeons and whatever it was, Tract, which
right.
Plenty of people are gonna recognize me talking about, even though I can't remember the title right now. And the negative, just the bullshit negative stories that have been told about the game, they consciously moved away from it in a bunch of ways. And I remember this happening because, of course, in 87 when this process started, I was 12.
Okay.
And D&D was my hobby. Like, that was it.
Right.
Like now I have way too many hobbies to devote enough time to any one of them to be very good at very many of them. But,
you were the kid who knew shit about D&D.
Yeah. Like that was my thing. And so as I mentioned in our last episode, I spent a lot of allowance money on buying Dragon Magazine every month. And there was a lot of backing and forthing about, we're going to put out a second edition of the game. And, people writing in letters to the editors, to the staff of TSR, saying, whatever you do, don't do this thing. Please don't kill off this class. Please don't whatever.
Oh, wow. Hang on. This reminds me of that guy who lost his 43rd level wizard or whatever it was. Can't you just keep playing the class? Like if they you see behind me, right? You see that entire bookcase filled with Star Wars books?
Yeah.
None of them are canon anymore for a fictional world that was created in the 70s that I grew up loving. They're not canon anymore because another company bought them. And when that other company bought the entirety of Star Wars, every page in every one of those books immediately went blank. Oh no, they didn't, because they're my fucking books. Like, I can read them anytime I want to. Okay, yeah. I mean, and again, I can't.
A bizarre.
Yeah.
It is a bizarre mindset, and here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cop to a little bit of this myself, and there is, and like I'm totally fine going and playing a second edition now that we're in 5th edition. I'm totally like right now. My wife and I are playing once a month in a second edition game that is being run by the same guy who was my DM in college that I told you about in the last episode. Hi Ryan, how you doing?
I gotta say, I am insanely jealous that you have a spouse who actually buys into it, is sticking with it, and like that. I don't know. There's something really like both of my ex-wives tried to play. To their credit, they absolutely tried to play, and I was grateful that they attempted. But we also both knew that they didn't want to go on with it. And that was perfectly fine. You don't have to have the same interests as your spouse. That's cool. But how fucking rad is it that your wife is so thoroughly investing in you that she's doing that and probably finding the joy in that? That's really cool, man.
Oh yeah, no, we're having a lot of fun with it. My character, I'm playing a cleric for only the second time in my role-playing career. And the biggest thing I'm having fun with is the fact that my character has already decided he's madly in love with her character, and she does not have the time of day for him.
So you guys are really just like playing as though you were in high school.
Yeah, because because we've determined that had we met when we were that age, I was way too much of a nerd and she was a total social butterfly. So I just would not have rated. So thank God we met far later in life. So, but anyway,
they're backing and forthing. Please don't kill off this class.
There's this consternation within the community about, what is the new game going to look like? What are you going to do to it? Because they said from the outset, the developers, the guys who were writing it, Zeb Cook being the main force behind it, was very clear about the fact that there's going to be some changes made and there's going to be some stuff that's going to go away. Because the game's gotten kind of clunky and bloated, and we're going to do some streamlining, and that led to like a flood of letters going to Dragon Magazine. Don't kill X class. And I actually vividly remember the editorial response in one episode, in one issue of the magazine was titled, quote, "Don't kill X," end quote. Where Cook went through and said, okay, look, a cavalier really isn't that different from a fighter.
Right.
Which hurt me to my core, because the character that I had been playing for 2 years at that point was a cavalier.
Hang on one sec. Cavalier reminds me, did you mention when you were talking about popular history, the cartoon?
No, I didn't.
How did we both miss the cartoon that I've shown my daughter and son in its entirety and was literally named for the game?
Yeah.
They were developing an action figure series for it too.
Yes.
And there was that weird fish finned guy in his helmet, and he was wearing basically something to protect his shoulders, but then he was naked and then he had pants.
Don't you mock Warduke.
Okay, Warduke, yes.
Don't you. Sorry. We do not minimize the badassery that is the 70s metal cover.
Yes.
Of the Warduke.
No, I liked him. I thought he was rad. Okay. I liked his accent when he came walking in. He's like, "Well, is this a party I see before me?" Warduke. Come on, dog. Why don't you come on down with me? I'll smother you with all kinds of weird jelly that tastes like salt. That's right, I will. Marmaduke.
Okay.
Okay.
That one didn't.
Not as well.
You know, no.
You remember when Jim Varney was doing it though, and he was no.
I'm waiting.
Know what I mean, Vern?
Yeah. No, know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
Oh,
That guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the Duke of Ernest.
Okay. Yeah. So somehow we overlooked the cartoon.
Okay. So Cavalier. You loved Cavaliers. You played them for 2 years.
Yeah.
And they just cut it, and they were just cavalier about it.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yes.
A little bit. I mean, not entirely. They were like, we understand this is a thing, but in the new edition, that's not how this is going to work.
And we're going to drill that part of your memory out of all of your heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, what I was trying to get around to a minute ago, but we got distracted from, was there is this attachment to the idea that whatever the current iteration of the rule set is the official one, and therefore somehow it is the legitimate one. And if you're not playing that one, it somehow feels
lesser
or off.
That's what's weird to me.
And it doesn't make any sense. Like, I fully recognize that it's silly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there. And for a lot of people who are really invested in the game, in the hobby, that was a real thing.
Now,
and
I
don't know where it comes from or what it's rooted in, but it is that attachment to the idea of legitimacy that is the real source of the heat that we wind up seeing in another couple of editions when we really see, I think the ugliest period of the edition wars.
Now,
what were you about to say?
I will say this. When you told me you were playing a second ed game, I kind of mocked that because I'm sitting there going, why would you play second ed when fifth ed is right there? Now, the reason I mock that, though, is not because, this is new, therefore it's more legitimate. It's this did away with all the problems that were built into that we didn't realize until we found new additions. So for me, it's a mockery of, why are you doing the impractical thing? Now, having said that, I stand hard for the West End Games version of Star Wars because I think it's the most Star Wars game there is, except for Fantasy Flight Games' version, where you have dice pools and stuff like that, not because of the dice pools. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but and that's largely, I don't understand the system, but the way that people play it, it's much more of a cooperative role-playing game, and it's not as adversarial, and I think that's even more Star Wars-y. But the mathematics and the use of the attributes for the WEG version of Star Wars, the D6 version, make the most Star Wars-y sense, because the ones that came after, quite frankly, were trying to D&D Star Wars.
Yes, they were.
They were
explicitly.
Yeah, and
it was Wizards of the Coast, who we're going to get to in a minute.
Yeah,
trying to take Star Wars and apply the D20 system to it, because that was their gaming license, and and it just.
And I had a problem with that.
I played it a couple of times. I mean, it was Star Wars, so I had fun, but it just never.
Yeah, it was. Clicked for me. I can't do this special power yet. Why not? Because you're a consular and you're only a third level consular, so you have to wait so that it unlocks. And I'm like, this is not Star Wars. Like, that's not how that works.
That's not how this operates.
And at the same time, I think too much of that still exists in the latest Fantasy Flight Games version, because it does still rely on levels.
Yeah.
And I don't think levels exist in Star Wars. By the way, that's one of the elements that we didn't come up with as a defining characteristic of D&D. Oh my God!
Last episode,
so D&D.
But character levels are a huge thing.
Well, no wonder. Like, we took it completely for granted because it did. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So anyway, I stand hard for the one I stand hard for, and I was teasing you for the one I teased you for, but not because I'm a traditionalist and not because I'm a hipster about it. Because I go in two different directions on that, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this one that was made in like the late 80s and this one that was made just 2 years ago. I'm going in two different directions, but they both are for the same reason, because it comes back to practicality. So
that's a logical, pragmatic way of approaching it. But what we know from being fans and from being surrounded by other nerds is so many of our fellow nerds are not logical or pragmatic about these kinds of things. There are very deep emotional kind of issues tied up in this stuff. So there was this huge consternation within the D&D community about what is second edition going to look like. Oh God. And then it came out. It was released in 89. And the biggest changes wound up being they streamlined classes. They eliminated a bunch of specialized classes. Barbarians went away. Cavaliers went away. Assassins disappeared. And a big portion of the stuff that went away was to respond to negative publicity, as I've said a couple of times now. But the assassin class specifically got nixed. Half orcs as a player race were eliminated. Devils got renamed.
What were they?
The set of planes they existed on were still the 9 hells, but now they were the Batezu. Demons became the Tanar'ri. This is also the first time we see anybody mentioning the blood war between lawful evil and chaotic evil outer planar entities fighting for domination of the lower portion of the outer planes, which became a huge part of the lore of the game forever afterward. And the artwork got changed. The nakedness and the Frank Frazetta-esque pinup looking elements of artwork got taken out, and it got cleaned up and directed at a younger audience. So now it's being sold directly, marketed and sold at teens rather than largely at adults.
Now, teens or preteens?
Early teens.
Okay. Now, what year is this?
89.
Interesting. Huh.
And tonally, they eliminated a lot of the moral ambiguity that had been involved in the tone of first edition AD&D. And they focused an awful lot more on themes of heroism, cooperation, the Gygaxian idea of the DM being the antagonist to the other players was significantly softened or done away with. And they introduced Thaco, which is still a divisive term. In AD&D first edition, there was a table that you rolled on, and you rolled a d20 and you came up with whatever your 2-hit total was, and you looked on the table to see what armor class you had hit. Now, what's important about that table is on that table, 20 wound up taking up 5 or 6 spots. So if you rolled a 9th, for example, if you were a first level fighter and you rolled a modified 19, you'd hit an armor class of 1. Okay. If you were a first level fighter and you got a modified 20, you'd hit everything down to like an armor class -4 or -5, with lower numbers in first edition AD&D, of course, being better.
Right. Those are tougher to hit.
So if you got a 20, you made a huge jump in what you hit. And so the table was not strictly straight up like mathematic. They simplified that to turn it into the number 2-hit AC 0. You would roll and add up all your bonuses and then compare that to your number 2-hit AC 0, do the math and figure out what armor class you would hit. And
now, having lived for more of my life without THAC0 than with THAC0, it seems way overwrought and overly complex in a way that does not benefit the game, the players, or the story. Now, having said that, THAC0 was a simplification of what had come before, and what had come before was perfectly adequate at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this THAC0 and the classes getting killed off, the streamlining and simplification of a lot of the rule set, and the change in tone led to this really being the first place that there was kind of a schism within the fandom. Like there were people who walked away and said, I'm not buying any of this stuff. This is bullshit. I'm walking away. And so this was a fracturing point, if you want to call it that, within the community. But we didn't have the internet. And so the people that said, I'm walking away, well, either they walked away and everybody in the group said, yeah, okay, we're just going to stick with playing first edition and we're good. Or they, had to talk with their friends who were like, no, we actually like the changes to the rule set better, and let's figure out how to house rule the stuff, we don't like about it or whatever.
Right.
And so it didn't turn into... there was not a forum or a milieu in which it could turn into a religious schism.
Right. I like this better and your mom should die.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Now my friends and I, who, had been playing the first edition of the game since we were 9 or 10. So, overall we'd been playing it for 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
Well, 4 or 5 years, depending on which of us you're talking about, we wound up adopting it with verve. Like, I was disappointed that Cavaliers went away, but I looked at the rest of the rules and I was like, no, I really like this. Like, I think this is an improvement. And this is the edition of the game that I have the most hours with. From 14 up through the end of my college days, this was the edition that I was playing.
Now, I'm going to challenge that just a little bit. Do you think that if 5e had come out when you were 14, that would then have taken the most of your hours of play? Or if Pathfinder had come out at that time? Because from 14 through the end of your college days, that's A, who it was aimed at, B, think about leisure time, and think about, if you aim it at the 14-year-old, they're going to be loyal customers for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end of your college days, you're going to have harder time finding games and players and stuff like that. So,
oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's not by virtue of...
say that. Yeah. I don't say when I say that it's the version of the game I have the most hours with, I'm not saying that as like an endorsement. I'm just stating the fact that this was the edition that I wound up... This is the one that made the biggest imprint on my life.
Sure. Okay.
I'm actually... Well, we'll get into my opinions about editions later on. So the second edition Player's Handbook was my biggest birthday present for my 14th birthday.
Your parents knew.
And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, my folks.
That's
here's
cool.
the deal. So what I find funny about this in retrospect is so many parents were so freaked out by their kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. My mother was of the opinion that, okay, look, if you're here with all of your friends sitting around our dining room table from 7 o'clock when everybody gets here,
right,
until you all, curl up in sleeping bags at 2 a.m, you're not doing drugs. You're not out on the street.
Exactly.
You're not getting into trouble. So whatever whatever stupid adolescent boy, sexist in the way only, teenage boys can be. If there are any
Right.
girls there, I want to do them. I mean, like, whatever naughtiness you're up to in your head, I know you're not doing anything that you're going to wind up in jail or dead from.
Right.
And my dad was born 2 decades or more too early to have really gotten away with being a nerd, but he would have been one if he'd been born later. So he looked at it and was like, okay, wait, so explain to me how this works.
Nice.
Oh, all right. That's pretty cool. And that was basically it. Like, I was so lucky to have parents who looked at it and were like, look, we know you're not out getting into trouble. Like, whatever, I mean, the biggest trouble that we could have gotten into would have been because one of the friends that I was playing with, his mom would, when we were over at his house, we loved going over to his house because we'd get over there. His mom would order pizza for all of us, and then she would go out looking for a replacement for my friend's dad, who she had divorced.
Oh God!
Back when we were, in elementary school, and so we'd have the house to ourselves, and we could be as loud as we wanted to.
Yeah.
But we still weren't going out anywhere, doing anything,
right?
Getting into trouble.
You were still safe. Yeah.
We were just a bunch of teenage boys left unsupervised in the house. So and it's the conversations I've had with my mom about that as an adult are kind of funny because she's been like, yeah, if I'd been thinking about it more, I might have volunteered our house more often than his.
Right.
But otherwise, meh.
Play on. Yeah.
Yeah. And
my first ex-wife, her mom, so my first mother-in-law, she said the same thing about D&D because the way I met my first ex-wife was her brother was a good friend of mine who played D&D with us when I was, again, 18, and he had this whole world, which I recently just found, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I was able to share some cool stuff with my daughter about it. But her comment was the same. She even had parents who are like, how can you have them do that? She's like, I know where they are.
Yeah.
And now your kid is over here too. So you're good too. You're welcome. And it was a real short story.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So for my 14th birthday, I got the basic rule books for 2nd edition AD&D, and my friends and I had a combination gaming session and Conan the Barbarian watch party.
Hell yeah.
And root beer floats. Because
hell yeah.
It was pretty cool. And in retrospect, the only part of that my parents probably should have been concerned about was some of the scenes in Conan the Barbarian, because we actually got a videotape version instead of the TV version.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. No, my folks went to bed and we were like, oh wait, we haven't seen these scenes before.
Yep. Oh, wifing. Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Hey,
thank you,
cool.
Sandahl Bergman.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
So, and so role playing as a genre of hobby expanded dramatically in the 90s. So
yes.
2nd edition AD&D is 89, and then in the 90s, like it all exploded. My friends and I cycled through playing D&D, playing Cyberpunk, and then Cyberpunk 2020 when it came out. Rifts,
GURPS.
We never got into GURPS. I played around a lot with character creation with GURPS, but my friends were never interested enough to actually try the game out.
Sure.
But yes, and then the World of Darkness games showed up when I was in high school, and of course we also had a campaign we played for about a year and a half that was a Mechton campaign.
Oh, Mechton Zeta.
We still have really fond memories of. Friend of the show, Bishop, if he ever comes on here, we'll have to talk about some of the stuff he got up to. I'm sorry, how much plastic explosive did you use? ... And so, the genre as a whole wound up getting a lot more diverse. There were lots of different kinds of games. Mechton Zeta is about as different from D&D mechanically, thematically, like in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost as you can get.
Yeah.
And overall, there was a trend toward more complex themes, more adult themes,
Mm-hmm.
grittier, kind of darker themes, and like especially the World of Darkness series, which I think really marked an inflection point in the hobby overall.
Mm-hmm.
World of Darkness was really deeply, very thoughtful and explored some really deep themes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really had a committed group who weren't just like caught up in being as emo as they could get, there was a lot of stuff you could really get into there.
Okay.
That's grist for another episode. But in this expanding market, TSR, which of course Gygax had left, as I mentioned back in '86, TSR fell back into trouble. Without going into too much detail, they made less than great marketing decisions.
Yeah.
They cannibalized their own product by just printing too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they fell back into a hole. And in 1997, they got bought by Wizards of the Coast. And Wizards of the Coast had been a nobody. Who are these guys up in the Pacific Northwest?
Right.
They make a card game. And the thing is, that card game made them a lot of money.
A card game like Canasta or?
Like Magic the Gathering.
I've heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You being a nerd, it's almost impossible that you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And that wound up, and Magic the Gathering is in many ways kind of a Dungeons and Dragons, in that before Magic the Gathering, collectible card games weren't really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Magic was the first one that gained any kind of major following, and it wound up spawning an entire genre of game.
Mm-hmm.
Like now there are game stores you can go into now, and 80% of their business is collectible card games. And there's a whole separate game ecosystem for CCGs, and it's a thing.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so I mean, in some ways it sounds like the perfect marriage, because you had TSR, which had been created out of whole cloth in many ways. And it created, it wedged its way into a market, created a niche where none had existed previously. And then you have Wizards of the Coast that did the exact same thing and made a lot more money. You know, it did the same thing, but it was neon, turquoise, and purple because it was the 90s. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So they wound up buying the company out in 1997, and they closed the offices in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. They continued the TSR label operating for a year or two, and then shut it down. And they now owned Dungeons and Dragons. TSR was now totally defunct, and WotC owned the game. And I remember, now this is the very, very beginnings of mass exposure to the internet at about the same time. And this is really the first time that you start seeing online communities or web pages or chat groups, chat rooms, where you start seeing there being a lot of people who were very upset and very worried about what this new company was going to do with D&D.
I remember.
This is our baby, and these guys they play card games. Like, this is not their thing. What are they gonna do?
Right. There was talk of incompetence and predatoriness. Like, they're just in it for the money.
They're just.
I remember that.
They run a company. What do you think they're in it for? But
Yeah.
like whenever anybody says that as a criticism, I'm like, and that's not necessarily always a bad thing. Like,
Right. Right.
like, it can lead people to make bad decisions, but if they're running a company, yes, they're in it to make money. That's at least part of their motive.
Yeah.
Like,
And
but
and
anyway,
and that's okay. It's if you have problem with their practices on how they make the money, then let's talk about regulating them. It's not hard.
Yeah. So in any event, uh, Wizards of the Coast looked at D&D and they said, you know what, this is fit for a revamp. We want to put our own mark on this. Because if we just keep printing second edition books, we're not getting a lot of buy-in to the hobby. We're not getting a lot of new people joining the hobby.
Right.
So Monty Cook, Jonathan Tweet, and Skip Williams collaborated on developing the core system for third edition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since the basic rules had been phased out since 95, they dropped the word advanced and the game went back to being called just Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
But they cycled the edition number forward to third edition anyway. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at the rules and they said, let's simplify this, make this make more sense. Thaco sucks. and instead of having one set of dice you roll for like your thieves abilities and another set of dice you roll for this thing over here, and then combat is all D20, we're just going to make everything based on a D20 roll.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very streamlined as far as comparing those two things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they turned it into what everybody now recognize as the D20 system.
Yes.
They put everything out under the open gaming license, which was a revolutionary marketing move.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying, you know what, you can use these rules without having to give us any money. Just make sure to include this statement on the back page of what you're doing, and run with it. Which freed up all kinds of independent publishers to start putting out stuff.
And it also meant that they got now, because of that, it's kind of like when Doritos says, well, if you want to sell Doritos, you have to sell all our flavors of Doritos. And it's not because they really think that you're going to eat the avocado flavored Doritos. It's because avocado flavored Doritos takes up space on the shelf. So now those bastards over at Lay's don't get to use that part of the shelf.
Yes.
Like you're just literally flooding the market with your product. And that's brilliant. Like, yes, please come and use our system, because that'll take up so much shelf space.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That will run those idiots at West End Games completely out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly. So
yes, it is a bummer, but again, all those books that are over there did not immolate.
Yeah.
They
didn't go blank. Nothing erased them. Yeah, no, I know. So this is where we see 5-foot squares and all of the modern, quote unquote, modern tactical ideas that you hear about Dungeons and Dragons combat. All of that was codified in the third edition rules. Now, I had never picked up this supplement, so I hadn't realized it, but it turns out the beginnings of those rules had actually been played with in second edition in a rules supplement.
No kidding.
There was a series that got released in 95, 96 called Player's Option.
Okay.
And one of them was optional rules for combat, and the ideas that are in the 3.5 rules had their genesis in that supplement.
Okay.
But third edition is where they got codified and made. No, this is how the game works.
Right. So real quick, I have a version of I've got the player's handbook and the DMG and the monster manual and several other 3.0 and 3.5 stuff. And as my daughter is super into D&D and stuff like that, she asked me some questions about halflings, and I remembered like there was the page that shows you the relative heights of each of them.
Yeah.
And other halfling traits, and she wanted to know about halfling naming conventions and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, well, I actually have a source that does some of that stuff. So I went and got that book down for her and showed it to her, and she went gaga over it. I think she's now keeping it in her room for right now. It's on her borrowed bookshelf. And she opened it up, and actually there's a note in there from my ex-wife. At the time, she was my wife. And Julia was stunned to find out that her mom had ever played Dungeons and Dragons. And it was a note. She had bought me that book, and I can't wait to spend the rest of our lives playing games together and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a wonderful, sweet thing, and I'm choosing to keep it as a sweet memory because I get to. But Julia was astounded that her mom had played, and here's the sad part for most people, that we had been in that much love. And I was like, oh yeah, we had played, man. It was freaking awesome. It was terrific. Yep. So but yeah, it was neat. It was really neat. She really, and now she reads it all the time. Her chief complaint is, why are there so many skills? Like, why do you need a skill for listen and for spot and for search? Why? And because she came up on 5.
Because the game is a direct error of Gary Gygax's way of doing things.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I've explained that to her. I said, you should see the old one. And that's when I pulled out the old one. I didn't tell her, oh, by the way, this is from a different family. So they don't know about that yet. But yes, it's really quite something to see her reacting to that.
Oh yeah. So interestingly, they introduced an actual skill system. Second edition had relied on proficiencies, and you had a limited number of proficiencies that you could do. If you were a fighter, you got this many weapon proficiencies, and you got this many proficiency slots. And at first level, you could choose to know how to do this many things.
Okay.
And then when you got to be 4th or 5th level, you would get more proficiency slots, and you could learn how to, you could learn survival, or, you could learn this, that, and the other thing.
Okay.
And when 3.0 came out, I looked at that skill list and I went, oh my God, I can finally have a fighter character who can do more stuff.
Yes, because there were cross-class skills, and
you could. There was all this. There was wonderful depth in what you could do with skills, and it meant that one of the things that got old for me eventually, and got old for a lot of people, and it was one of the big criticisms that led people to get into other role-playing games entirely. Was that so much of what you wind up rolling dice about in Dungeons and Dragons is hitting people over the head with a sharp object.
Right.
And what if I want to play a game where I'm a diplomat and I want to try to convince people of something instead? What if I want to play a game where, I have to, craft something or solve a riddle or do this, and 3rd edition made a real stab at making that a thing.
Yeah, it did. And relative to its predecessors, it did a good job.
Yes.
Although I do also remember, because we were in the middle of an Al-Qadim game when that happened. And the guy running the game, whom I think it's Mark. But the guy running that game, he converted it for us, which was pretty cool. And then he said something to the effect, he's like, yeah, the grapple rules are still garbage though. Because he ran a game store, he knew this stuff inside and out, and he knew enough to be able to convert it, for God's sake, And by the way, critical hits and critical failures were still a big deal. You didn't just do double the damage. There were effects that happened in the game as a result. And I remember he, and that was still a chart, and it was still, that kind of stuff. And then you had decks of cards for it. And they were finding ways to
supplemental
monetize
materials and all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, no, they found ways to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Because they were, in fact, in it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes that gets you shit.
Mm-hmm.
Classes. Sorcerers got introduced for the first time as a separate thing from wizards.
Oh wow! I didn't know that it was that recent. Okay.
Yes, that was 3.0.
Okay.
Half-orcs came back.
Wait, so let's back it up a second. Sorcerers, you said, got introduced. There had been sorcerers in previous editions, but they were just classed as wizards?
Yeah.
Okay.
In first edition AD&D, sorcerer was a level title for a wizard.
Okay, because I remember in the Al-Qadim game, my friend Martin played a sorcerer who was a mage weaver.
Yes.
And that was a sorcerer, but okay. So it was a type of wizard.
Arcane spellcasters, magic users it was all one class.
And it all drew from the same pool.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you.
Drew from the same pool.
Okay.
And so they also introduced thieves got renamed into being rogues, and I'm still bitter about that.
Yep.
I'm not going to go on the rant, but I'm still bitter about it. Anybody who's heard that previously in other episodes knows it's a thing for me. And they introduced the idea of prestige classes, where if you got to level 8 or whatever level as a fighter, ranger, whatever, you could take this other class that might last for 10 levels, might only last for 5, but it would give you these other funky special abilities that would reflect the fact that you're part of this organization or you're dedicated to this thing. It was and what 3.0 really did was it created all of these ways to customize characters.
Yes.
To really make your character different from every other one like it.
So that your cavalier could indeed be different materially.
Yes. Materially in a rules manner from everybody else. Yes.
I remember though that was the drag on 3.0 and 3.5 was
we're gonna get into that.
All right.
Gonna get into that. So they brought demons and devils back as demons and devils. The artwork still stayed tame, but they brought back demons and devils because by that time the crest of the panic had passed and they could get away with doing that.
Yep.
They introduced feats. This is where feats appear.
Yes.
In 3rd edition.
I remember that being a significant, because at that time I only played martial characters.
It was amazing. As a guy who plays fighter and paladin types forever, feats were such a big deal. Like, oh my God, you mean I can do fancy shit other than just I swing and hit?
I can hit 8 people around me now?
Yeah. Like, holy crap. Like, what? Oh my God. Yeah, it was huge.
Now, at the same time, though,
game-changing.
With feats, still very clearly tied to Gygax, because in order to get this feat, you have to get this one, and to get that one, you need to get this one.
The prerequisites, which are this, that, and the other. Oh, yeah. Yeah, very much.
To get whirlwind attack, you need, and it's just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, my very next note says, way granular, very much a child of the Gygax mindset of there's a system for that.
Yep.
And in a lot of ways, 3rd edition helped Wizards of the Coast overcome a lot of community suspicion.
Because it was so good.
Because this game was amazing. And now it's interesting that hi Ryan, how you doing? My DM did not like 3rd edition.
Oh.
Still doesn't.
Okay.
He has run it, or he's run 3.5 because his players have basically said, I really don't want to play 2nd. Like, I want to. We all collectively want to do this other thing. So
we want feats.
Yeah, so there's been a campaign I've been in with him that was 3.5 because that was what everybody wanted to play. But given his preference, he prefers the feel of 2nd, and he would go into statements about, it doesn't make dwarves shouldn't be wizards, you know, and other arguments that are based on, just second edition got it right, and the changes that they made in third he didn't agree with.
Okay.
And again, I'm kind of painting with a broad brush, and I know he would be able to articulate his arguments. But again, this is an example. But the reason I bring it up at all is because this is an example of, again, we have an edition change, and there were a whole bunch of people who were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," and there was a smaller but non-zero group of people who were like, "No, I don't like it." Now, this was in 2000. And so there was some sniping back and forth on the internet between groups about the change. Okay. And I've already mentioned skills were a huge big deal. I could build using skills and feats. I could build a character that was uniquely mine and who could do crazy, amazing stuff.
Right.
But the game did have problems, and every D&D campaign I'd played in up until 3.5 had been basically 1 year long, because in college in college every year we'd started a new campaign. We'd had a new cast of characters, and we'd gone from level 1 up through whatever level we got to by the end of the year. So in 3.5, with a group of people who included some of the folks from that group from college. I played my first multi-year long-running single story arc campaign.
Nice.
Ran for somewhere between 3 and 4 years, and it was a wonderful experience with a group of friends I still value. It, as I mentioned already, it was therapy for me when I was going through my divorce.
Sure.
But over the course of that campaign, as our class levels went up, some really serious issues with the rule set came up.
Let me stop you right there. I was playing, I think we were playing Star Wars by that time. But I was playing with that group of guys. And when my first wife left. And I told them during a game, I was like, just so you know, she's leaving. She'll not be living here starting like next week or something like that. We're all sitting around in my cramped apartment. I'm so sorry, man. It's terrible. What can you do? What do you need? Good group of guys. Previously, it had been talked about how one of our players, Martin, was one of the most helpful and kind fellows there is, to the point where his friends called him Switzerland, because he helped another player in the group, Logan. He helped Logan's ex-girlfriend move because she'd asked. And, Logan was not particularly bitter about it, but also you don't let your friend forget that he had once helped your ex move. So they asked, they're like, "Oh man, so sorry, what can we do?" I said, "You know what, honestly, you guys are doing it, we're gaming, this is good. I might need to call someone from time to time, but I'll be okay." And then I said, "But Martin, could you not help her move?"
And that's so Martin too.
It is. And so everybody,
he's wonderful. He's
such a kind and wonderful man.
Yeah.
Everybody laughed, and that's at that moment, all of them knew I was going to be perfectly okay.
Yeah, and those are the moments that you can have with a group.
Yes.
In a game like this, that's the kind of relationship you can build with people, and that's the wonder of the hobby.
Yeah.
For me. But
anyway, carry on.
Yeah, the limitations of 3.5 really became clear, especially as we got up to high level. And I think we've been going at this for a little while now, and I think that would be a good place for me to begin with our next episode, because when we discover the problems with 3.5, and I've been talking about 3.0 this whole time, but 3.5 came out in 2003, but they're essentially the same game. 3.5 was a tweak off of third, not really a new system.
Right.
But when we start talking about the flaws in the system of 3.0, 3.5, we then start getting into the shift from third to fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when the religious pogroms really occurred in the D&D community online.
Yeah.
For reasons that we can get into in the next episode. And it led to, of course, a whole new game being born.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that. So
awesome.
There we are.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat on this bone. There just is. There's a lot of marrow to crack into and enjoy.
Yes.
I loved the open sourceness of it all. I thought that was really good. And you said you were going to get to one of the big problems of 3.0 and 3.5. But I loved the open sourceness of it. I loved that there was so much variability that you could really, like, one of the problems I had with earlier D&D was I role play this character, but then I play and roll this character. And that was it, you know, and you basically, if you're going to be in a game, you're going to probably min-max to some extent what your character can do so that he can survive in the campaign that is built on rules of adversarial relationship.
Yeah.
So you have to min-max to have him survive so that then he can do the things that you want him to do as a character, right? So if you're really into the role-playing, you still have to min-max it to some extent or another. To the point where, honestly, like, I still have that struggle with some of the guys I play with and some of the DMs that I've played with in recent memory of just like, you know, oh, well, you're sub-optimizing your character. Yeah, but it's cool and it's interesting.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
but you're sub-optimizing it. I'm like, I mean, I did that with my sorcerer in our game.
Oh, yeah.
He was so sub-optimized. And so fun.
Yeah, but it was so much fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and you know, bouncing off of him was way too much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and I actually wound up, I very nearly, like the closest I've ever been to actually lunging across a game table and throttling somebody.
Oh.
Was in a short-lived 3.5 game.
Mm-hmm.
That was being run by my friend Ryan, where another player who was, I don't know, a decade and a half younger than me,
mm-hmm.
And who, you know, 3.5 was his vehicle,
mm-hmm.
And who was thoroughly immersed in it and was a truly very well educated rules lawyer, found out that I was playing a fighter at a certain level. And that I had spent feats on 2-weapon fighting, and my reason for doing it was because I wanted to play Mad Mardigan,
right?
Like, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I had, you know, I had a backstory and I had a character, and I was having fun playing the character, and he looked across the table at me with like utter incredulity, and he was like, "But why?" and you know, and then proceeded to explain to me how I was playing a fighter wrong.
Oh.
And like I have not wanted to actually grab somebody by the forelock and slam their face into a gaming table so hard. Like ever. And you got to understand, I was in my 30s. Like, this is not like, you know, idiot teenager getting pissed off about something. I was just like, how the fuck dare you?
Right.
Like, and that moment crystallized for me so much about like everything I've been angry about gamer culture ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, we're here to have fun. Why do you have to tell me I'm having fun wrong?
Yeah.
Like, how dare you tell anybody they're not allowed to do this thing? Or like, you don't own the fucking game.
Yeah. And if you do, take it somewhere else, because I don't really want to play with you.
yeah, like
Yeah.
fuck off. Yeah. And yeah, so I wound up, I didn't wind up sticking with the campaign very long after that. Because like, I actually apologized to Ryan. I said like, I'm having fun playing with you, and a couple, a couple of the other people at the table are awesome, but that jackass is just ruining it for me. Like, screw that.
Oh yeah.
And then there was another kid. Part of the problem was I was so much older than everybody else at the table. Kind of like here.
I don't see that as a problem for this.
Only more so.
Yeah.
But another one of them was just would spout off with typical 20-something, I'm smarter than everybody else political opinions, because like he hadn't had a life yet, and like I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to put up with it. I don't want to come in here and have to either have to have the argument or consciously not have the argument.
Right. Why does he get to suck all the air out of the room?
Yeah.
Just because he read Ayn Rand.
Yeah, and the funny part of it was like he had come to the set of conclusions that were like half Ayn Rand and half like I don't even know what others, but he would spout off, and in one moment he'd say something that was like so leftist it hurt, and then he'd be talking about Ayn Rand and like, figure it the fuck out, kid. Like, you don't even know enough to understand that you don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah. So anyway, but back to the original point, the you're having fun wrong, min-maxing
right
kind of urge is a problem, and part of what I'm going to talk about is that the 3.5 had some problems that exacerbated that mechanically.
And it would make sense, though. I mean, 3.5 was the heir apparent to the system that was, again, built on you're supposed to min-max. If you're not min-maxing, then you're not playing right, because your DM's job is to kill you. So that makes sense.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So, all right. Well, what are you reading, if anything? Because I know that last time we talked, you were hip deep in student work. Have you crawled out of enough of it, or do you assign more so that you have too much to do?
I didn't assign any more of it, but it's slow going.
Gotcha. Fair. Totally fair.
So
giving good feedback is a long process and takes a lot of time.
Yes.
So
and so this time around, I'm going to probably I'm going to hold off on recommending anything. Okay. Well, no, you know what? No, I'm gonna change that. If you can find them anywhere, there was a really great series of comics that DC, I think it was DC, did that was based around a set of characters in the Forgotten Realms, and this is, I don't know, a bunch of years ago. So you'd have to look it up online or comb through a comic book store's shelves. But it was a really good encapsulation of the kind of stories that would be told by a group of people in a D&D campaign.
Nice.
In a comic book format that actually had genuine arcs of development for all of the characters involved. One of them was a paladin who wound up losing his paladin abilities. Because he suffered a fall.
Gotcha.
From grace, and they did not pull any punches in regard to him into that, then driving him even farther into a despair spiral. And it actually there were places in which it got really heavy, which I was really impressed with at the time. Cool. So if you can find the Forgotten Realms comics, I recommend them. How about you?
I'm going to recommend actually different media than reading this time. I'm going to recommend that you go on the YouTubes and you type in The Dead Alewives Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that.
And
yes.
there are
yes,
two of them, and many people have animated them, and they are wonderful. Absolutely a great send-up of the Satanic Panic that we had mentioned in the previous chapter or episode. And it just so good. So go listen to that. It's only going to give you
so spot on.
Yes, it's only going to take you about 10 minutes out of your time if you listen to both episodes even.
Dungeons and Dragons,
Satan's game. So anyway, that's what I'm going to recommend. So where can people find you on the social medias?
I can be found at the address EH Blaylock on both the Twitter machine and on Instagram, as a matter of fact. And you can find the two of us if you want to, send us hate mail over our stated opinions about a given edition. You can find us collectively at Geek History Time on Twitter. And where can they find you, sir?
You can find me every Tuesday night on twitch.tv/Capital Puns. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at @DaHarmony, 2 H's in the middle. And you can find me there. Also, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, get them to hit the subscribe button. You know what? Go there and hit the share button, and then send it to like 3 of your friends. People that you know would love our geeky shit. Not necessarily this episode if you don't have any D&D friends. My apologies. But there are plenty of other episodes where we take on all kinds of cool stuff. So find one, send that to them, and then tell them to subscribe. And then rate and review our podcast and let us know what you think. So yeah, that's I think those are all the places you can find us. So for Geek History of Time, I'm Damian Harmony.
And I'm Ed Blaylock. And until next time, don't walk away or we'll take an attack of opportunity.